April D. Ryan is, to me, an American hero. She's a mom, she's a daughter, she's a sister. She is a commentator. She is a White House correspondent and the DC Bureau Chief for American Urban Radio Networks. She brings a unique perspective to news. And we're going to be talking to her about voting. We're going to be talking to her about some of her toughest moments. We're going to be talking to her about what radical self-care looks like. April has directly inspired my role as Veronica Henley in Antebellum. And we're going to talk to her about the film because she's seen it. And my hope has always been that those who directly inspire the work will watch it, and then I want to know like what they think about it, right? Because that's just like that's who you really want to see and respond and see what they say. So this is my first time, speaking to her, and I'm super excited about this. I am going to, I believe she requested me. So if you're coming in, we're speaking to the incredible April D. Ryan. She is a White House correspondent. She is a mom. She is a sister. She has also won an NAACP. She was nominated for the NAACP awards. She should definitely win one, which is why I said that. And she is one of only 3 African Americans to have served on the board of the White House Correspondents Association. So she asks this current president the tough questions. She's been viral, and we are going to talk to her about so many things. So if you're coming in, I'm going to request April, and we are going to talk. We love her.
Hello, Janelle Monae. How are you?
Oh my goodness, I'm better now that I see you. Hi, beautiful.
How are you? Oh my gosh, I was listening to what you said about me. Let me say this. First of all, we did meet. We met like in passing.
Okay.
I used to work at another network, and you had just finished Hidden Figures. And you were walking out, and you were going into the car. It was you, Taraji, and Octavia Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like in passing.
Oh,
And,
that's beautiful. But
yeah,
now we finally get to connect. And
yes,
I think
we do.
on a deeper level, you've done so many remarkable things. You continue to make not just me proud, but all of us proud, especially when you ask those tough questions to someone in office, this current president, who devalues us, who devalues women, Black folks, immigrants, and is the biggest divider that we know. So we appreciate you for everything that you're doing to represent for us.
And thank you for your incredible work, for keeping the empowerment of women at the forefront. I just think about everything you do, just what you embody. And my kids just adore you. And because we adore you, as soon as Antebellum came out, we watched it right away. I watched the thing twice the first day.
Wow.
I mean, it was so good. And we're just so happy that we have women like you out there standing strong and showing us what it looks like to be strong. Because it's interesting for you to be at the level you are, to sit in this strange perch of success and still say, I want to help. I want to reach back and help. I want to lift people up. And you know, politics and getting involved in politics is career suicide, right?
Yeah, you know what? You would know that firsthand because you've dedicated your life to this. To those of you who are joining, if you don't know, you better do your research. I'm speaking to none other than April D. Ryan. April D. Ryan is a White House correspondent. She brings her unique perspective to the news. Ryan appears almost daily on television as a political analyst on programs like Out Front with Aaron Burnett, CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, among, just a couple things. Ryan is an award-winning author and journalist and an NAACP Image Awards nominee, and one of the only 3 African Americans to have served on the board of the White House Correspondents Association. Ryan is the author of the award-winning book, The Presidency in Black and White, and At Mama's Knee, Mothers and Race in Black and White, where she looks at race relations, through the lessons and the wisdom that mothers have given their children. Your newest project, Under Fire, reporting from the front lines of the Trump White House, has taken America by storm with such an in-depth look at how ludicrous, at your journey, or look at how ludicrous things are there, but also at your journey as a reporter during the current Trump administration. So throughout your time as the White House correspondent, April, regardless of whether or not racial issues are being discussed, or by the president or political leaders or the mainstream media, April, you still use your position to fight for the answers for the Black communities, and in your dedication to bringing Black issues to light rather than succumbing to the pressures of these political powers, right? To cast these concerns aside. They rather not talk about it, right?
Right.
But April, you fight for Black stories, and you fight to be heard and to have your concerns addressed. And so my first question for you, because you're known for asking these questions about racial issues that others just push aside and often ignore, in those moments under pressure, you have a few seconds just to kind of get your question out. When you're brushed off by the president or political leaders, or when they try to avoid or make the question seem less serious,
Right.
How do you find the strength to stand rooted and stand your ground and keep that persistence?
So Janelle, it's not about me. I'm a trained journalist. I was trained at Morgan State University and HBCU. And if you go to an HBCU, you know it's about the community, number one. But in this field that I have loved for over 3 decades, it's not about me. It's about a community that is still in 2020 underserved. We're a community with the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. And what's unfortunate is you don't have a lot of people in there who understand it, or they have another issue that needs to be addressed. And when you see and hear from the grassroots and hear from organizations like the NAACP or the Urban League that there's a need, you cannot not ask the leader of the free world or the seat of power, what is this? And then those questions in a lot of instances bring forth change. Normally, that would happen. And this time, I have to be undaunted and keep on asking the questions. But now, since COVID, I've been home, but I've been working and still breaking news. But at the end of the day, the stories and questions are important for this community. I think about Ida B. Wells, who said, we still need to shine a bright light in dark spaces. And we have a lot of dark spaces at this moment. Racial reckoning, COVID, an election with voter suppression. We can go on and on, but the questions have to be asked. It's not about me. It's about the community and the issues. Yes.
Yeah, and we feel that. We feel that persistence. We feel you standing your ground and representing for us, and the power of just knowing that you just said that it's bigger than you. Like this is a purpose that goes outside of you, and I think that is why we love you. We see that. We see it's not about, how can I advance April, but it's how can I use my platform? I'm here. I see everything going on around me. How can I get the answers for people whose voices have been pushed to the margins of society? How do you think we can use this moment when conversations about race are more so consistently being presented in mainstream media? Now everybody's having this racial reckoning, right?
Right.
To fight to bring, how can we use this moment to fight to bring more of these stories to life and ensure that these issues remain at the forefront of our country's political and social conversations? In what ways do you feel like, we're talking right now, right? If somebody was just, watching this, how can we use this moment to keep those conversations going?
It's important that we have moments like this because it keeps the conversation. It keeps the issue of race going. We were talking about Breonna Taylor. It does not stop at the verdict that was offered. We're now seeing a video that kind of contradicts what we heard the other day. And I'm sure you saw it, where the police officers in the aftermath of the shooting of Breonna Taylor, they were looking at the door saying, wait a minute, These are our shell casings, contradicting what was reported that the shots were first fired from Breonna Taylor's boyfriend. So these stories have to continue. We have to continue
Yeah.
to talk about this. And Janelle, we were beating the drum on police brutality before mainstream media picked
Yeah.
it up. Because
Yeah.
mainstream media picks up stories at the crescendo moment. The Trayvons, the Breonna Taylors, the Eric Garners, the Ahmaud Arbery's, the Freddie Gray. I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah.
When the water is unsafe to drink, and you have Hillary Clinton talking about it. We've been talking about these issues for so long. And it's important that we continue these conversations because mainstream media, they filter into mainstream media.
Yeah.
We cannot stop. Again, we are a community with the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. And if you don't tell it, they won't know. So we've got to continue the old tradition of storytelling, being a griot, telling those tales. Remember that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I love that. In addition to being a champion of Black voices in the mainstream media, your work with the American Urban Radio Network serves urban Americans with news and with information. You keep us abreast of these things. In what ways can this moment in our country history also be used to amplify the voices of the Black media?
You know, and going back to what I just said, the unfortunate thing is when you are in media, we have to go to every story. But when white media is covering us, a lot of times they don't know. So they come to us. And we need to be more accessible to them and push more to be on the set to tell the stories, because a lot of times they don't have the texture and the understanding of a culture that they really don't understand. So I believe it is so important. And like, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. It's unfortunate when things happen that they'll call me, well, April, we need you on set. Or when John Lewis dies, or Elijah Cummings dies, we need you on set. Or when there's a Black Lives Matter moment, we need you on set. It's unfortunate that mainstream media does not take the time to understand and get into that story a little deeper like the other stories. But we have to make sure that we are ready and able. We understand the culture. We understand not just the moment now, but the history of yesterday and what it's going to look like in the future. We have to meld all of this to give them that on the set. It is so important that we are there to tell the story, because everyone else will not.
Yeah.
They will not.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love when you said they don't have the texture. I think that right there is a moment. That is a moment. And I felt that. I felt you saying basically that there's a certain nuance that we get, you know.
We do.
We understand it because we've lived it. And I want to go back a little bit to when you knew. When was that moment of reckoning for yourself when you said, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do? No matter how difficult it's going to be, no matter, you know, my challenges as a Black woman in media, no matter if I have 2 kids I have to raise, I have to feed. When did you know, like, this was my calling?
So, Janelle, that's so interesting you say that, because I have often wondered, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I came from humble beginnings, and a lot of my colleagues are Vassar, Harvard, Yale, Stanford. I'm HBCU. I'm Baltimore, you know?
Come on, HBCU. I lived in Atlanta, so Spelman, Morehouse, Clark.
That's right.
That's my stomping ground. Yeah.
That's right.
Love it.
And I grew up on a college campus. My mother worked at Morgan State for 42 and a half years before her death. But I often said, and I would often talk, you know, to God, I said, why am I here? What makes me special? And I said, it's because I have a big mouth. I'm that kid that understands stuff. But, you know, understands our culture, our commonality, but yet our uniqueness.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I kept saying, there are other people out here more qualified. But I said, I am here. And because I'm in this unique perch, in this unique space, it's not about me. It's about asking questions for an underserved community. And I said, okay, when I got to the White House 23 years ago, not many people were asking questions about us until that crescendo moment. And I was perceived as a militant. And I kept saying, why am I here? Why am I here? But it started unfolding I said, okay, maybe I'm that person to push the envelope to get the questions for an underserved community. But then it kind of settled in a few months ago. I said, I get why I'm here. I said,
Mhm.
because street peeps street, game peeps game.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, how many people do you know who can still stand after a president of the United States has gone after them? After a president of the United States has put his minions out to smear your name? After
Mm.
you've had to move your home from death threats, bomb threats, and protect your children as a divorced mother, I said, I know why I'm here, and I know what God's purpose was for me. So it kind of
Mhm.
unfolded along the way, but I said
Mhm.
there was a reason, because not many people can stand when you're considered the enemy of the people.
Yeah.
You're called out, they threaten you, and your
Mhm.
company still stand by you. So I've kind of come full circle. I realized that I'm here for this moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other people who could have done it, but
Yeah.
I figure that Baltimore girl, that girl from
Yeah.
HBCU, that girl's
Right.
not too scared of anything, you know.
Yeah. I feel your spirit, and so much so when I was playing Veronica Henley in
Mm.
Antebellum, you know, I had to find my inspirations. When I read the script, I thought about you immediately. I thought about you. I thought about even an Angela Rye. I
Yes,
thought about,
yes,
right? I thought about, you know, just these women who have to deal with these political pundits, these kind of cis white Republican talking heads
yeah,
who are on there just to make sure that they make your question sound silly or
right.
gaslight you. And
Mhm.
there's a moment where I have to, in the film, talk to a political pundit who is, you know, just minimizing what's going on in the Black
Right.
community,
Oh yeah.
right? And I wanted to know because, and like I said before you came on here, the reason why I did this was because I did not see your voice represented on screen. I didn't see a movie where you have a Black woman who is a mom, who is a, you know, who is a wife, who has written books and is speaking about, you know, race, and also on TV, and you showing the harsh realities of how the status quo wants to silence you.
Oh my
Like
God.
there's a, so I want to, because that's the one of the main things in Antebellum is silencing. Shh, don't talk, be quiet.
Yeah.
And in the film, not a lot of people catch this, but they're in the middle of an election. So the person who plays him is running for a seat, right? Is trying to
Hmm.
run for running as a senator.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is like whoever is speaking, whoever has a voice in the community, whoever is speaking as a representative of the Black community and bringing these issues to light, they have to be quiet because they're considered a threat to white
Right.
supremacy. They're considered a threat to patriarchy, right? So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was when you saw that moment on TV, because I actually got a message from you.
You did.
And
My kids and I, we were, yes, you did.
I got a message from you, and I want to read this message,
Go
if you
ahead.
don't mind.
Go ahead.
The message said, let me see. Here we go. I have to find it. I'm not on Twitter right now, so I couldn't go straight to my if you have it pulled up, or if you can pull it up faster than me, then
Okay, let me
fine,
see.
but you might can.
Okay. I'm at my computer, on my phone at my computer. Hold on, let me see. All
But when I
right.
got it, okay, here it is. I found it. Okay, you said, "Hello, you are amazing in this movie. My kids say your character is me. I love this movie. Trying to watch during the sad news of the death of RBG, and God rest her soul. Again, this movie is amazing." And when I got that from you, all I, first of all, I kind of got a little teary eyed because all I could think about was how this is your life. I got an opportunity to play, you know, for a month and a half, and to go back to my hotel room and go, you know, record a song if I wanted to, go eat some gumbo, but you dedicated your life. And the fact that you were seen in this moment, I will tell you, there's no higher uh, um, compliment. There's no higher form of love from me is to be recognized by the person that inspired your work. So talk to me a little bit about what that feels like to see just a glimpse of your life kind of on screen, you know, a portion of your life.
So that's what you said. You said in your response, I'm so glad that you felt seen. And it was crazy because my children, we were laying, I was like, this is eerily familiar. And my children were like, Mom, that's you. Minus the fly clothes. You were fly.
You be fly too. Come on now.
But let me tell you something, that red pantsuit and that purple pantsuit, you need to send it over. So, and I said, I saw so much. I said, my last speech that I was traveling for was in March in New Orleans. I was at Xavier, and I said, is she at Xavier or Dillard? One of those, you were at one of those schools.
I think I was at maybe I was at Dillard.
Was that in New York?
Yeah, yeah.
It was one of those schools. I said, oh my God. And I said, before I shut it down, it was like March 11th. And I went out right after that with my friends, hung out, and got in our little knobby wheel car. But people will look for you who don't like you. They know you're in the area. And when you travel, I've had people at the White House wait for me. I've had people come up to where I'm on the air at the facilities. I said, oh my God. And I've had people from parties or organizations verbally spar with me and tell me what I'm not, who I'm not. You know, and my mother used to always say, she took something from Dr. King, it's not what they call you, but what you answer to. And I never answered to that. But I saw myself. Angela Rye and I have commiserated so many times about letters and calls or what have you. It's real. Janelle, it is real, the hate that we get for speaking truth. A truth about a community that's underserved, when they want to play this game with an agenda that hurts people, that oppresses people. And I always say, it's, you know, after looking through this crazy glass for all these years, politics is not about party, Republican or Democrat. It's about people. It's about humanity at the end of the day. And when I speak out, they want to do crazy things to me. You know, I have people, I don't even want to say what I get.
Sure.
But when I saw what happened to you, I was like, oh my God. You know, I had people sitting out in front of my home. We had to move because people were in front of my home, and I would come out of my garage and they saw me, they speed away. And we moved because of that. So that really touched a nerve. That movie touched a nerve in me, and I watched it again. And I'm kind of getting teary-eyed just by, again, I saw me. You made me see me, and my children saw it. My 18-year-old and my soon-to-be 13-year-old, guess when our birthday is? November 3rd. November 3rd.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I just, you know, I commend you. And when I think about even a Maxine Waters,
yes,
you know, she's someone who I have a relationship with, and I had an opportunity to talk to her about it. And I think that globally people need to understand. And also, when you are in the position of power and you benefit from these racist policies, right? And you are privileged in this country, specifically, you know, I'm speaking to our white folks. It is, you have to do better about making sure that April D. Ryan is protected. Angela Rye is protected. This is their life. Yeah. This is, we are in a fight right now to ensure that you don't have to look around the corner and worry about who's watching you because you're speaking up for marginalized voices. You shouldn't have to move homes with your 2 children because you're speaking up on behalf of Black lives and marginalized communities.
A bodyguards. What journalist has to have a body? What country are we in when you have to have a bodyguard fearing for your life when you travel. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. That is
Yeah.
utterly ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So when I think about that, um, how do you feel that we can show it better for you? Is there a law that we can help push, like in terms of protection, or is it just a part of the game? Are you saying,
Oh no,
hey,
let me say this. This is not a part of the game. This is not
okay,
normal. Let's
okay,
let's call this, first of all, this is not normal. This is not a part of the game. But I need people to understand civics and government and world history. We are protected supposedly by the First Amendment, freedom of the press. When checks and balances don't work on Capitol Hill and over at the Supreme Court, it's supposed to be the press asking questions to hold the principal or the president accountable. But because people don't understand civics and they're not teaching it in class anymore, you have now people who are brainwashed believing, how dare she ask that question? This is not about loyalty. This is a question that's supposed to help, put out on the table something to bring an understanding to or change a dynamic.
yeah,
So one, people need to understand what's fact. Two, there's something called the Kerner Commission report. Remember that report over 50 years ago? LBJ brought that report together, the commission together, after the death of Dr. King. He wanted to examine why there were uprisings in cities like Watts, Newark, all across the country with the community and policing. This isn't a new thing. This has been going on for a long time. So in that report, it said we were separate yet separate and unequal. But here's the thing. At the end of that report, the Kerner Commission report, it talked about the press and it talked about minority media. It talked about minorities like me and you being in spaces, high spaces, to ask questions of underserved communities so they could get answers.
yeah,
So there are people who don't understand these things. And so now I'm the bad guy. I'm the devil. I'm a race baiter. When this stuff is set in stone, protecting us. So what can you do? Fight back. Use your words. Black Twitter. Anything you can do to support us. Because it's not just me. Yamiche has gone through it.
yeah, yes,
Abby Phillip has
you
gone through
meet,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So when I asked the question, Mr. President, are you a racist? Remember a couple of years ago?
Yes.
And now look where we are today. I was the world's worst person. I mean, it really started. And Sean Spicer telling me, stop shaking your head. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, when I asked, does this president support slavery? When General Kelly, the chief of staff, talked about the compromise in slavery, and I said, does this administration support slavery? But Sarah Huckabee said, that's a ridiculous question. But look at what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
The Confederacy and issues of slavery. And if we go back, Janelle, that compromise that General Kelly was talking about would have kept slaves in southern states.
Yeah. Yes.
So antebellum is not a far reach, to be honest with you. I don't want to give the story away, but it is not a far reach. I saw so much commonality to this moment in this movie.
Yeah, and that was another reason. Thank you for bringing that up. When I think about the compromise, when I think about the Fugitive Slave Act, when I think about even policing, let's talk about police in the South during the Civil War. It is not talked about enough that the earliest form of policing was the slave patrol. And their main job was to hunt down any enslaved people who had escaped, any Black people who were trying to revolt, and kill them. So this is the same system that we're still in. This was inherently built on racist policy to traumatize, to terrorize Black people.
Right.
And now we still have that same system who has killed Breonna Taylor. They're walking away with it. They didn't even there was no charge on actually killing her, but because some bullets went into an apartment,
the wall and the neighbor got more justice,
absolutely,
than Breonna Taylor did. And at issue, Janelle, you're absolutely right. it's not, I don't care what they claim Breonna Taylor did. That's not the issue. The issue is that a Black person, like a white person, should be able to go to court and defend themselves, not have justice on the spot, be tried, convicted, and killed.
Right.
That is not appropriate.
Yeah. 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 That it is not. And when I think about just the obsession that this country has, specifically the president and the Republican Party has with, and the people who support him have with the romanticization of Robert E. Lee and the antebellum South. As we know, when you have a racist politician, you're going to get racist policies, right? And so when we think about slavery, not only am I talking about, when our ancestors were first stolen and brought over here, but even today, people are not talking enough about it. I'm gonna have someone come on and we're gonna do a live about this, but people are not talking enough about sex trafficking, human trafficking. Even though that's a form of slavery that is still existing.
And they were talking about that in the Obama administration. Valerie Jarrett, former President Barack Obama, when they had the United States of Women, I believe. Remember that?
Vaguely, but yes, it isn't talked about enough. I mean, just last month or maybe 2 months ago, maybe less than 2 months ago, 30 women, 30 young girls were found in Georgia. And I live in Atlanta. So this is happening under our noses. And we have to continue to bring that out, continue to protect our women, and black girls and Black women are disproportionately affected by this. And that's another subject that I want to see, us covering more and talking about. You talked a lot about your parents. I want to switch gears here. You've talked about the influence of your parents and, them having inspired you. And I'm missing, just thinking about that, I'm missing my mom right now. I'm unable to be with her because of COVID, but we're trying to figure out a way for that to happen. But you talk about, your parents and them inspiring you to overcome challenges of being from Baltimore, particularly in overcoming that automatic failure and in fighting for your survival, right? For those who may be feeling hopeless or powerless because they don't have that kind of positive inspiration in their lives. Your mom was a teacher, not to say that you didn't grow up with a silver spoon, but depending on where we are, we can be a little bit more privileged than the next person, right? So because, maybe you had some positive inspiration in your life, and those who right now may not feel like, man, I have nobody. What words of advice would you give to them in this moment to help them overcome these inherent challenges? Your Baltimore young brothers and sisters, what would you give to them right now?
Aspire for greatness. You have to look to something greater than. My mother and father always told me I could be anything and do anything I wanted as long as I worked hard for it and got a good education. But now with times the way they are, it's about finding yourself and then finding that path, creating that path to get to where you want. I had dreams, but I never dreamt the dreams that God had for me. I never dreamt that I would be in this space and place talking to you, and
me either.
And Antebellum being there. I think we have to surround ourselves with positive and good people. One.
Yeah.
Have mentors in the field that you're in, or just have someone mentor you if you are lost. And then begin the building blocks to build and dream of the life that you want. It's not always easy, and I'm mentoring a lot of kids now. But what I do is try to throw a nugget. If I can't talk every day, I try to throw a nugget to these children to help them understand if I can do it. My father was a truck driver. He first drove a bus, and he's not a college educated man. And then he became a truck driver, owned his own trucking company. My mother started out as a secretary at Morgan. She wound up being director of student activities. She wasn't a teacher, but they grew to who they became. It's not over. And I also encourage people to reach out to organizations like the NAACP, like the National Urban League, all of these organizations that are trying to groom young people, our next generation, to be all they can be. So I believe it can be done. We don't have to say, well, I'm in Baltimore. That's it. No, there is an automatic failure in our life here in Baltimore, but we can overcome. We are a community
Yeah.
that has done so much. I'm thinking about Harriet. She even went
Yeah.
back when her husband walked away from her and married another.
Yes.
There's something about that spirit that
Yeah.
we make it through no matter what. And if we
Yeah.
take that spirit and believe in ourselves, we have to have belief in ourselves. And we
Yeah.
can start
Yeah.
building the blocks no matter what you want. I believe if you reach out to people who are there, find
Yeah.
a mentor and believe in yourself and build those blocks, I think you can get there. I
Yeah.
believe you can get there. I know you can get there.
Yeah. And you definitely are living proof of that. I think mentorship is so important. I second that. I
Mhm.
think that, you know, one of the most, the special things and most important things we can give each other is our time.
That's right.
And sometimes when we're so busy living life, which, you know, I hate that COVID has taken so many lives away from us and have allowed us not to, you know, be in the presence of each other in the way that we would have, but it has also given us a little more time to reflect on the things that we want to do. What is our
Yeah.
purpose? What things were not serving us well? Let me make that phone call that I was scared to make. Actually, let me reach out to this young person who I feel like is headed down the wrong path.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching my little cousin on social media. Let me reach out and see. And I think this is I think it's taking some time, you know, away from your daily life as you're home and reaching out, doing outreach. I can't tell April, I've had so many conversations with people who are struggling, like around their sexual identity.
Wow.
They are struggling in terms of trying to heal. I'm one of those people too. I'm still trying to heal some, you know, emotional, rejection and abandonment issues that was with me when I was a little girl. I remember, and this is, you know, I don't even think I told this story, but I remember being around these older, I had a cousin that I just loved so much. And she would have these birthday parties and she would have all these older girls around. And I always wanted them to like me. I always wanted them to really I wanted to be their little play daughter. And I remember them loving this one girl because she had this really long hair and it was like curly. And you know, in our community, you know,
Colorism is real.
colorism is a thing, right? And depending on who you're around, you are the blackest in the room, you know, or you can be the lightest in the room. I was the darker one in the room. And my hair was not as long as this girl's. It wasn't as silky. People would use words like good hair and oh, her hair is good and you're my baby doll. And I wanted that. I wanted that. And I'm like, I had to be maybe 8 or 9 years old. And I wanted these older girls to like me. Do you know that before the birthday party, because I knew this little girl was going to be there, and we were around the same age, but I remember just taking my hair and trying to pull it.
So it would be straight.
Pull it so it would be straighter, so it would be longer, so they would like me. And this carried on, April, until even in my career. Don't do anything wrong because they won't like you. You'll be rejected. Don't talk about your sexuality because the people, you know, that are homophobic that you love, that love you, might not love you anymore. And so, you know, when I think about the importance of mentorship, when I think about the importance of us telling our stories, even if we're not proud of them, you know, that wasn't anything. It was kind of embarrassing now that I think about it because I'm like, I'm cool as fuck. Period.
Let me
but
say.
but in those moments, I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel that.
So let me say this. You don't realize that story, your story is resonating with me. I've heard so many people talk about that kind of stuff. Everyone and everything has a story.
This is about to be good.
Okay. So childhood hurts grow
you up. Said everyone, you went out a little bit for me. You said everyone has a story.
Everyone has a story and everything has a story. And both of my children are upstairs right now. I want them to come down. Ryan, get your sister and come down. We've been talking about exactly this. And I've heard these stories before. I'm 53. I know women who are my age who have told me how they had the same exact thing that you had, and they want to walk away from it. I said, I'm not that person. I'm like, I don't look at color. I look at the heart. I look at people. And, you know, and what COVID has done it has blown up every fear and insecurity that we've had about everything, because we're now in the house looking at
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. I'm that person too. And after a point, I've been talking to someone, because it gets to the point, it's like, wait a minute, this wasn't right, that wasn't right. And I'm finding myself, like a lot of people, talking about the hurts to get them over with, because when you sit with
Yeah.
yourself, sometimes you can't even handle your own truth. So
Yeah.
it's important that we have these conversations. It's
Yes.
important that I cry when I drive, to the store, because I'm like, oh my God, I've got anxiety. It's important that we reach
Yeah.
out to one another, because you don't know what the next person is doing. And we're going to be in this for another 2 years or so. So we got
Yeah.
to figure out how to love ourselves if we're going to keep on going down this
Yeah.
path.
Yeah, that's so true. And speaking of love, one of the things, I know that we both in our respective fields, we, like me with film and with music and with art, I try and 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 educate if I can. If there's alignment with, like, okay, I'm passionate, I want to be this character.
Mhm.
Also, I have an opportunity to bring forth to bridge that gap where people are not connecting policing during slavery to policing now. When people are not looking at the fact that Black women like April D. Ryan and Angela Rye are really taking big risks every
Mhm.
single day to speak for us and to speak out against racism, sexism, classism, and to bring our stories to the forefront. So I say, okay, we can do that. And then you're doing this. Your books are incredible. I want to plug it again so people know. The Presidency in Black and White. Please get it. And At Mama's Knee, Mothers and Race in Black and White. And Under Fire, reporting from the front lines of the Trump White House. Y'all go get all of her books. But I'm saying this to say, we need a break. You need a break. And when it is time to take a break, because we know that balance is important, right? I want to know, what does radical self-love look and feel like for you?
You know what? I just started learning how to do radical self-love. And because in COVID, I had a painful breakup. And I said, you know what? But I'm going to love me. And I'm going to put back into me. And what I did, let me tell you, my self-love, I can get overwhelmed. The other day, after the Breonna Taylor verdict,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't take it. I was overwhelmed, Janelle.
Yeah.
I went and found a coloring page on the internet, and I colored for 2 days. I allowed myself to cry. It hurts because I'm a woman, and I look at my 2 daughters, and I'm like, this is not right. And I see men and women out here that are human beings, that are special, unique. And I don't want to hear that about someone who looks like me. I don't want to hear that about anyone. And like last night, I said, you got to do something. I boxed last night to get my aggression out.
Yes.
Yes, boxed. I boxed.
Yes, I love boxing. I want to get back into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I boxed. And I said, I got to do this for me. I bought a bike in the midst of when no one can find a bike. I bought a bike, riding around my neighborhood. I need that time to myself. I go out on my back porch and look at nature. I'm in the woods. I'm in a secluded place. I mean, you wouldn't, if you find me, you really hunting for me. I watch nature, and that's calming to me. I watch the deer. I eat breakfast or lunch and just find my own peace. And I'm trying to find joy in the things that I like, not the things that other people like. I'm trying to find my own joy and trying to look at myself, girl, love you. You are beautiful. You are this, you are that.
Yeah.
Because people will tear you down. This moment will tear you down. And I don't know. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear you talking about finding the things that work for you. I recently have had to take a look at my inner voice. And for a very long time, my inner voice was a lot smaller than all the voices around me. I'm realizing that inner voice is the most important voice. What you feed yourself, what you tell yourself, when you're deciding, okay, am I going to get up this morning? Like that in between moment of like being asleep and then getting up right there before I walk, before I check an email, before I check a Slack message or a text message, I have to recenter myself. And so that is a form of radical self-love to me. So I do affirmations, like affirm myself, like I am all, I am enough.
That's
I don't
right.
need anything else. Everything is fine. I want for nothing. I'm one with everything. And I tell myself those things. I won't apologize for my decisions, you know, as an artist. Like if there's, you know, some anxiety that I may have around, well, what if people like this, or what if people don't like this, or man, I couldn't control all these things, but I hope people see my intentions. It's how do I feel about myself? And I have to make sure that my inner voice is louder than everybody's voice that I'm hearing. Because I heard you mention anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. And one of my earliest moments, now that I know what it is, which is kind of like the fear of the future, you know, the fear of like what's next. You're worried about like, well, what if this happened? You're coming up with every scenario. And one of the things that happened for me, April, is when I was probably in middle school, high school, I would have these parties with two of my best friends. And we would have parties and people could pay $1 and you would get in. And maybe about 500 people could come. And when the party opened up, I would go and I would hide in the bathroom. I would go into the bathroom, in the stall, lock the door, and just sit there because the thought of nobody showing up was just emotionally debilitating. I had told myself that nobody was going to show up. And so my friends would literally have to come in and be like, giving me like, okay, more people are coming. Everything's going to be okay, Janelle. Like, and I'm like, no, nobody's going to come because I couldn't think about Monday morning. Everybody, the thought of that was just so painful. But that was also stemming from, you know, being let down by a parent who was supposed to do something.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and all those things connect, and we don't see it until later, until somebody triggers something. You're like, why is this making me feel like this? And then you got to go all the way back, right?
You got to go all the way down to make that.
You got to go
cry.
to the root. So that is what I've been allowing myself to be open and talk about it, because the strong be strong. We have to be strong, right?
And
everybody's like, you're
so
strong.
Vulnerability is strength. I'd rather see vulnerability than someone hiding with pretense and arrogance. That's insecurity. And as you grow and you find out what that is. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, and I don't even talk about, you got me emotional.
Right. Listen. Let it out.
I know. So let me say this to you. So anything that was dormant before I dealt with Trump, my God, it's been exacerbated.
Yeah.
Think about this. You're a loser. You're a nasty woman. People are coming after you. Definitely. It makes you wonder, am I what they say?
Yes, you start believing it.
Right.
You start believing it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to go back and build yourself back up and say, and look at yourself. And I had to go on. I said, okay, these are good qualities of me, and these are what I said. I'm not doing what they said.
Exactly.
Had a whole television network dedicating hate towards me, making me a target. I'm like, what? So
yeah. I understand that. And then you also have to forgive yourself for believing, because that's the thing. Because I'm mad at myself. What the fuck did I believe what this person said about me? Why did I actually for years believed these things about myself that just are not true.
Right.
That just are not true. And so from the girls who were glorifying a certain texture of hair or skin tone, I felt I wasn't good enough. So I believed that. I couldn't get into their club. So I believed that I wasn't good enough, right? You know, and so I think that we have to also forgive ourselves. Yeah. I've been painting. Here's one of my little pieces of work. It's my first.
Painting is art.
It's been really not striving for that perfection, not striving for that, and being okay again with making errors, you know, and forgiving myself. And so that's kind of what I've really been on. This election, though, because I know we're almost down to time, but I wanted to talk to you about this election. I'm personally voting local elections. I'm also voting for Kamala for vice president, and I'm voting for Joe Biden. And I know with having, I had an opportunity to work with Stacey Abrams and be a part of her documentary, All In the Fight for Democracy. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see it, I say watch it, because it goes through the history of voter suppression.
Yes.
And why our vote has not been working for us. I used to be a cynic, like so many other people, like, you know, even though I still voted, I was just like, it's not going to work for us. We're not going to get the things that we need, right? Now I understand better why that is. We are so powerful that they have on so many, put us through so many obstacles. I was gerrymandered my own self. And I know that it's happening. There's so many people who have been felons, and you know their records are clean now, but they don't even know that they can vote.
Right.
This is a whole,
Snoop Dogg.
This is a whole.
Dogg was one of them.
Yeah, this is a whole thing. So they don't even check. And then something just came out. I have to finish watching it, that showed how during the 2016 election, how Donald Trump and that administration did everything they could to target ads to convince those Black voters who were undecided not to vote.
That's right.
It is a whole campaign around this. And I can't stress enough local elections. So I want to hear your thoughts when people say, oh, I'm not going to vote. This is not going to matter, or they're worse, or we're just getting to, you know, lesser of two evils. And they speak in the way that these white supremacists have figured out how to make us take on that mentality. What do you say?
So when it comes to suppressing the Black vote, this president, Donald John Trump, is hoping for a low voter turnout in the Black community so he could win. This president is very concerned that he will lose. And if he was confident that he would win, he wouldn't be saying, I'm going to stay in the White House. You know, I might not leave, you know, if there may not be a peaceful transfer if I lose. So we are now dealing with voter suppression. It's not poll tax. It's not a literacy test, but it is stealing of the post office, sorting machines, moving them around, and hijacking the mailboxes off the street corner.
Yeah.
So because of that, we are now finding ourselves making a decision. Do I put on a hazmat suit to go to vote on November 3rd? Or do I early vote? But either way, the post office is a problem. So what I say to people is, in my family, we made an event. When I was a kid, they made an event. And I'm making an event for my children because this is their right. And it's also a privilege, because I say it's a privilege because too many people died for us to have a voice that we don't use. So I can't endorse anyone, but I tell you what, I definitely don't want to see Donald Trump back in the White House. And because of what he's personally done to me. And what he's personally done to all of us as a people and as a community. And I say this to say, each vote counts. Kwesi Mfume, you would never know his name. He's Congressman Kwesi Mfume for a second time. And he was also the head of the NAACP. Janelle, he won his city council vote by 3 votes. You would not know his name if he had not won that city council seat. 3 votes. Each vote matters. And I'm going to give you this too. Susan Rice, former National Security Advisor, former UN ambassador, and Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, told me on my IG Live show, they said, look, if Donald Trump wins another 4 years, there's irreparable damage on every level. If he loses and you vote him out, each vote counts. things can be changed. So what I advise everyone, call your local board of election supervisors to find out about your registration, find out
Yes.
how to get a ballot, and take it to their ballot box instead of going
Yes.
to the mail. If you can't do that, figure out how to get your ballot in. And if you can't, do what the former first lady said, take a lunch, breakfast, and dinner, and be prepared to stand at that poll with your hazmat suit and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. It is utterly important. If you can go out to the restaurant and eat with your mask off, why can't you go to the polls?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm most concerned about is our elderly folks who can't stand that long. And so I'm trying to work on something that at least we can get some lawn chairs out there, have some porta potties out there.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure this out, but I think we got to make it comfortable. And I think one of the things to know is that we don't even have an ear listening to us. If you're Black, if you are queer, if you are an immigrant, if you are a woman, if you are a minority in this country right now, you don't even have an ear listening. And that's like one-on-one. And my thought process is that we have to start, even if it's not for ourselves, it's other people who are depending on us. It's other people who are less privileged than us that need somebody in office who are going to be making policies that can help them, right?
Amen.
So I'm also saying that this doesn't mean that we don't hold Biden and Kamala accountable.
That's
I'm
right.
ready, and I'm excited to hold them accountable. I'm ready to have a list of demands before before November 3rd. I'm ready to have this conversation and talk to other leaders of the movement, from the Black Lives Matter movement to Until Freedom, to other organizations who are saying, hey, here are the people in our community who have been underserved. Kamala, Joe Biden, what are we going to do about this? Like, I think we got to talk to them now. So this doesn't mean, oh, everything's going to be fixed. We still have to keep fighting, because this is a whole system that was not built for us, was not built for us in mind.
Exactly.
We do have an opportunity, though, to take back America, to take back our power, to take back what we helped build, what our ancestors helped build. And I'm so happy, that you were able to join me today, April. I love you so much. Thank you. Well, my hope is that, a lot of white folks watch this film. I really, my hope is, and my hope was that you felt seen. Because it's so much was inspired by the work that you do. And I thank you. I thank you so much for choosing your freedom over your fear. I'm going to be sending so much love and energy to you, because this is energy work. And my hope is that people realize the amount, like you are helping lead the revolution through your platform, through your words, through your questioning. You are putting us on a global level, on the global map. And my hope is that people realize, like yourself, that Black women are owed so much, And at the very least, Black women should be given peace.
Amen.
And my hope is that you can feel that peace and you can access that peace. And any time that you need to do that. So thank you so much, April. Thank you, girls, for joining us. You have an incredible mom, and I know that you know that you get to be with her. Listen to her, and figure out how to be the best versions of yourselves that you can